Doesn't actually give me a countdown. There's already someone watching. We're not live yet.
Well, go away, person who's
Now we're
watching.
live, supposedly. All right. It's Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. I'm Rim,
I'm Scott.
and this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we are talking about the Untitled Goose Game. So it was finally time to buy a new laptop. My plan for my laptop to last a decade totally worked. I bought a fancy laptop a decade ago, and it's on its last goddamn legs now.
I just switched to iPad, and I only use my laptop in like emergency situations when I need it, and it still works.
See, I actually do use laptops a lot.
I might put some Linux on it instead of the Windows that's on it, though,
No,
because it's kind of sad.
I mean,
You try to turn it on, and it's like, oh, really? You're turning me on?
my
Really?
my laptop is like it boots quick. Battery still lasts like 3 or 4 hours unless I'm playing games with it. Then it lasts like an hour now because the battery's 10 years old. The main problems with it were the battery is held in with tape. I recently replaced that tape because the tape gave way the other day and I lost some work I was working on. And the screen resolution by modern standards is basically like 40p. It's like 1366 by whatever that stupid form factor is.
Only 5 Ps.
Not many P's.
Not
So,
enough P.
So I got a laptop that has a lot of P's. I got
I mean,
the mic.
even a crappy laptop you buy today has mad P.
Yep. But
P
back
all
in the
over.
day, don't forget a decade ago, that Lenovo was a top of the line laptop.
Yeah, a long ass time
Yeah,
ago.
10 years ago.
What the hell year did I even get mine in?
I know I got mine in 2009 because I remember very specifically planning. I even talked about it on Geek Nights how this is going to be a 10-year laptop because I spent like $4,000 on
I
it.
didn't spend that much. Let me look up.
I mean, that laptop, I bought a Core i7 on a laptop back before that was...
Lenovo direct sales in 2010. I think this is it.
I mean, that laptop had a fancy SSD that was very high capacity before SSDs were default standard on every laptop. Like,
Yeah, I guess I bought the laptop in 2010.
no.
Yeah, this must be it.
Which works out because the previous laptop I bought was the Fujitsu Lifebook. I do not buy laptops very often. I think this is my third laptop because I continue to buy extremely expensive laptops and use them for goddamn ever.
Yeah, I guess I bought the Fujitsu in Beacons like 2005.
Yep.
And that lasted 5 years. In 2010, I bought the Lenovo.
Yep.
And then I bought the iPad.
A few years ago?
I don't know. When did I buy that stupid iPad? This
You've
is already
iPaded for a few years now.
This is actually the second iPad.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually I had a mini iPad, and then the Pro iPad, and then the even Proer iPad.
Yeah, but I did something different because my plan was to buy a Surface Book 3 because Microsoft is really bad at naming things. So the Surface
yeah.
Pro is the less powerful tablety one, but the Surface laptop is also not that powerful. It's just a normal laptop. And then the Surface Book is actually the crazy powerful desktop replacement one and also a tablet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that has a fucking like real video chip in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like a GTX 1060 is what's in there.
No, it's like some mobile version.
No, it's what do you mean a mobile version? That would be the 1050. This is the 1060.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
in that.
They make a lot of things have the same number, but it's not
Nope.
actually the same.
No,
thing.
benchmark's the same as 1060 with the
Okay.
caveat that it cannot overclock itself because it cannot cool itself that well because it's in a laptop. But I got the laptop as opposed to the book, partly because I really need a new laptop. The old one's not doing it for me. But two, as much as I wanted to get a laptop that's crazy powerful like I always have, like I could render video on this if I need to, I have never actually needed for like 5 years now to edit serious video on the go. It can always wait till I get home. So this laptop can edit video enough on the go. So I saved myself like $1,000 by getting a normal laptop instead of a laptop that could be a full desktop workstation replacement. Weirdly prudent of me in the laptop department. Another opening news or opening bits. The election just happened.
It didn't finish yet.
Yeah, it's happening. I forget when the polls close because New York has early voting now. I voted over the weekend like a pro. Did you vote early? I forget.
No, I didn't. To vote early, I had to go farther away, so I voted this morning.
See, we could vote at the Museum of the Moving Image, which is like...
Yeah, that could have voted there also.
For us, that's not really further away than our regular polling place. So we don't know the results. The election's happening right now. But based on some tentative numbers I saw, an interesting thing, I hope this is a real trend, turnout appears to be really, really, really high. Like crazy high.
Yeah, well, people,
We're talking like 22% of voters.
People are much more upset. They want to vote, and now it's easier to vote with the early voting.
Yep.
And
But this is an off-year election. So wait, if you're non-Americans, every 4 years we have a quote-unquote real election, meaning like presidents and shit get voted for. That's every 4 years, and like 40% of us vote in these things, maybe 50%. Every other year, we have a midterm election, which is like the middle of a president's term.
That's because, it's the House of Representatives. Half of the Congress is out. It has to be elected every 2 years.
Yep, you just got to keep getting elected. So basically,
some of them, like, people died or quit and stuff. So some of those elections, happen in the middle years. But most of them are every 2 years. So you go to vote for a president and you vote for the House, and then 2 years later, it's like House only.
Yep. And occasionally, like, some senators and,
senators every fucking 6 years.
Yep.
So it's like any year at random, depending on where the hell you live, it could be like, oh, by the way, one of your 2 senators.
Yep.
And those are only the federal elections. Every state is different, and then every town is different.
Yep. And then there's yet another kind of election, the off-year election. Most Americans barely know these exist, and they don't vote in them.
Right, well, I mean, depending
odd-numbered years that are not leap years, like 2019 is an off year.
Well, every single thing we voted for just now, today, was New York City specific. There wasn't even a single New York State thing to vote on, so you could live in somewhere else in New York State, and if there was nothing in your town happening that year based on your town charter or whatever the fuck you live, there's literally there would be nothing to vote on today.
Yep.
There would be just literally nothing.
Most
Empty
places
ballot.
had like judges.
Yeah.
Usually it's judges.
It depends where you live.
But judges are real easy to vote for. Just always vote for all Democrats and never anyone else under any circumstances. Like, don't even look these people up. Doesn't matter.
It depends.
No, it doesn't depend anymore.
What if you happen to know that, like, in your town, the crazy judge, like, got, onto the shenanigan and got on as a Democrat, or,
It's still better to vote for that than someone who's a Republican.
But they
Or
are
libertarian.
They are a Republican. They're just on the Democratic part of the ballot.
Nah.
Shenanigans.
That's pretty rare at that level.
It's actually surprisingly not rare in New
Well,
York
it's
State.
usually more that it doesn't matter because most of those judge elections are either unopposed or it's like vote for 6 and there are 6 Democrats and like 1 Republican and no one else is even running. Like there aren't options in those elections. Anyway, I hope you voted, and New York City will be interesting
If there's
because
something to vote on.
one of the things we got to vote on is whether or not our own city will do a form of ranked choice voting, meaning...
It's IRV. So the thing is, that means it'll only apply to city elections. So for mayor, you'll be like, this is the best mayor, the second best mayor, the third best mayor, and you can vote for as many as you want. So you're like, I'll just pick one, and if they don't win, I don't fucking care who wins.
Yep.
Right? But the thing is, I think it'll be weird. Like, we go to vote for mayor in 2 years, and it's like, well, at the same time...
De Blasio's not my first choice, but he'll be my second choice.
But it's like, well, he's not going to be on the thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
He's done.
He's finally done.
We're going to go for Corey, probably.
Yeah.
So, unless someone else appears. So, the point is, if there's city things, you're going to be doing these rankings, right? And then if there's non-city things, you're going to be doing regular. So, it's like the ballot will be mixed between ranking and not ranking. It'll be a little messy.
Yep. But it might mean New York City has a better chance of putting actual progressives in power.
No, I mean, even with the old voting, you're probably still going to get Corey.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think it'll matter too much.
But anyway, let's get into some gaming news, because you guys probably don't care about this stuff that much, even though you should. All things are political. So, first and foremost, this is just really funny. This is like, what did Scott say on the Discord? The most GeekNights news.
Right, so there was a Fortnite tournament. And the Fortnite tournament, I don't know the structure of a Fortnite tournament, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Play your Fortnite.
Right. This was a third-party tournament. So it wasn't run by Epic, but it was run by a legit organization with real prizes and really trying to keep shit together.
The Vanish Cup.
Right. And they have some sort of system, I don't know the full details of, where there is some sort of support from Epic for like running the tournament, where there's like some codes, and they give the codes to the participants so to like match make only the tournament participants. So no one can like, no public people can like sneak into the games, right? You know, it's basically the equivalent of like passwords in the Counter-Strike server kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's some matchmaking involved of some kind.
Now, it's cool because that means there can be tournaments. Like, esports, usually, like, there's physical concerns and all this nonsense. But this kind of tournament, anyone who qualifies can compete from anywhere in the world.
Right. Now, the thing is, these kinds of third-party tournaments happen in all sorts of video games, competitive video games, with limited or no support from the actual game company, and usually there's third-party software and all sorts of ramshackle duct tape solutions.
I remember competing in Quake tournaments where, like, legit, someone would call you on the phone and tell you an IP address to connect to.
Right. There's a lot of tournaments where it's like, you know, befriend, you know, it's like they'll send you like the Steam ID or, you know, basically the ID of the person you have to play against.
Yeah.
You friend them and connect to them and play them, and then both of you report your results to the tournament organizer.
I won.
Right.
I won.
Yeah. Or send, you know, stream or, you know, but you can't.
If they're clever, they'll have like a judge whose job is to like spectate in your game. Like, depends on the game.
Yeah, anyway, stuff like that. So the point is, for this particular Fortnite tournament, some people, who knows, we don't know even
three people,
right, decided to grief the fuck out of the tournament. They had the codes, so they must have either gotten the codes from players or
it was them.
Or it was them with different accounts that were anonymous. And they went into the game as a team and basically like spammed and shot rockets everywhere and griefed the hell out of everybody.
They like back to back and just teamed up and fucked everybody over.
Right. It would be like if, you know, we had a Counter-Strike tournament and then we just like joined and like started team killing and nobody could get a game going on that was legit. So rather they couldn't do anything about these griefers because they don't have enough. It's all, you know, they don't have enough support from Epic, right? So they just had to cancel their whole fucking tournament. And it just it goes back to a general point I want to make again and again until someone fucking gets it right. Is basically there's no video game out there, competitive multiplayer game, even in 2019. There's basically none that has full, real tournaments, organized tournament support in-game, right? That is perfect and complete, such to the point where you won't even need third-party tournament organizers. People should be able to open the game.
Yeah, I should be able to go to Overwatch and be like, I want to make a tournament, invite these people, run it.
Join a real, legit, organized tournament, and the game takes care of everything for you. And you can customize the formats and do all these really basic things. Make sure people show up, enforce the rules, right? Make sure, right? Zero games that I'm aware of have built this thing.
I feel like a game that got that right.
Right. I feel like you could build a really simple game, right? Like a really meh kind of game, not just something good enough, and then just build a really strong tournament system, and people would play it just because, wow, I can play real, legit competitive tournaments in this thing, right? Like you go to, say, your local game store, and you go for like Friday Night Magic or whatever, and that tournament is better organized than any video game has tournament that I'm aware of.
Unless it's video game tournaments run by the companies that make the games, because they use the kinds of like internal tools that players don't have access to.
Or they're usually in physical spaces.
Or
they're just controlling everything.
Or they do things like make a special build of the game that's only for the tournaments. Like, developers are, like, hacking stuff together, all sorts of nonsense
usually
happens.
when it's in person, you just don't have to worry about so many of the concerns you have with the online tournament.
But there's something else going on here.
You don't need the tooling.
I think it's very easy to explain why this happened in this particular tournament. The prize pool for this tournament was a total of $3,000.
Yeah.
So the odds of winning any reasonable amount of money are pretty low.
Yeah, you have to be basically in first place to win any meaningful amount of money.
But if you just assume you're not going to win money from this tournament anyway, griefing a tournament that's being live streamed on such a scale is really funny.
The amount of fun you would get from that is worth more than the prize
of
winning.
Like, my utility, if I was in this game, if I was part of that crew.
Also, the culture of Fortnite, the game doesn't help.
Yeah, because the culture of Fortnite is just jump around hitting people with a dildo and have
it's
fun.
not a super serious game.
Yeah.
Right? If it was a super serious game, the griefing would have been met with much different, right?
Like if it was PUBG, I feel like the griefing would have been met with other players teaming up to get rid of the griefers.
Here's
and
all someone
proceeding.
has to do. Make a game. It doesn't matter what fucking game it is. It has to have, just as long as it's some amount of skill in the game. It doesn't have to be a full skill game. It could even be a mostly random game, right? And make a system where people create a tournament, right? Enter the tournament, possibly even with an entry fee. Could be like $1, $10, whatever, right? You, the game maker, take a cut of the total entry fees, right? So let's say it's a $10 entry fee, 10 players in the tournament.
So make the poker casino and take the vig.
You take $1, right,
Yep.
as the cost to launch a tournament. Everyone pays $1 to join a tournament. Right?
See
and
what's
then
fucked up?
the
I
winner
think-
of the tournament gets the $10. Something simple like that.
Here's the problem. I feel like the governments of the world would regulate and be mad about that.
It's a
way more.
It's a skill-based game. Like you can't fight with that. It's not gambling.
I feel like they might just pass laws and crack down on that because they care way more about that kind of thing than they care about.
I mean, Belgium would wisely, but
Yep.
I think I actually have no problem with that. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, but I'm saying perception-wise, they'd go after that
My
before
problem
they
with-
would go after this loot crate bullshit. That's the actual problem.
Some places are going after the loot crate bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like you look at Magic cards. I have a problem with paying for a pack of cards with random shit. That's the gambling part. The playing Magic and whoever wins the Magic tournament gets a prize. I have no problem with that. That's a skill based. Most, at least, as everyone has the same cards. Netrunner tournament's a better example, but it's like you play the game and whoever wins gets the prize. That's totally fair as long as it's not some bullshit game, right? So it's like I actually am okay with everyone puts in $1. The game company keeps all the dollars, and whoever wins the tournament gets $10 worth of loot crates.
So I had friends
Right?
who made a lot of money doing that in middle school with Magic tournaments. They would just put flyers all around the school like, hey, Magic tournament on Saturday, this kid's house, $10 entry fee.
But that's what game stores do.
Yeah.
And it's like no video game, digital online multiplayer game of any genre has implemented that local game store tournament mechanism digitally such that kind of tournament can just happen all day long constantly, even for no money or not, right? There is none that do this. Do it now so shit like this can stop happening. What is taking so long?
What I'm also kind of waiting for is we have not seen like an ultimate griefing moment in a bigger esports tournament.
Because the bigger esports tournaments are all in person. Once you get big enough, it's suddenly in person and not online anymore, right? And even like the serious online ones have a lot more controls in place and such. So,
Unless you have the equivalent of like the basketball player just like hauling off and punching someone.
These are tournaments that like are not like they're like small things off. It's like minor league baseball. Like you would never see it. It's happening somewhere else unless you know where to look for it and you're inside on it. You would never even know it's happening.
So now the Vanish Cup like officials are trying to figure out who actually were like the griefers were.
Good luck.
Yeah, they're definitely behind 7 proxies, and they have to go work with the Fortnite people to get any data.
Yep.
Let's see. Extremely upsetting. Everyone's excited. The impression I get though, looking at like people talking about this, is other than some people who really cared about the tournament in the game, people seem to find this more funny than annoying.
Of course, that's the point.
It's really funny.
That's the point. That's the news.
Yup. I feel like online tournaments, even with controls, if the prize pool is low enough, you're just gonna see people stirring shit up. And
well, sure, but at least that's within the context of the tournament, right? I bring my wacky deck to the Magic tournament, and I just do stupid shit and lose every game. It's like, okay, well now you're eliminated, right?
Yep.
You can't just go fucking with it. You can't, I guess at the local game store you could go.
Well,
you could flip someone else's table, right?
This illustrates. No,
you wouldn't be able to if a proper
things.
digital tournament.
What if your shtick is just to be so annoying that the other player flips the table? Or, more importantly, this brings in a game theory thing, because Fortnite having more than 2 players and not being a race is inherently political.
It is.
Capital P, game theory political.
It is. I mean, that's why I was talking generally about all games and not about the problems of any particular game, because to talk about any particular game, we would go down a rabbit hole so deep.
Yep.
Right? And that's why I will not have the discussion.
So in some other news, Blizzard, among other things.
Well, that was BlizzCon. It happened.
Yep.
The expected Hong Kong protest also happened.
Yep. A whole bunch of Hong Kong things.
At the start of BlizzCon, they apologized without actually mentioning Hong Kong.
Yep.
If you didn't read the news about this, which I assume you have if you care.
Yeah.
Right? They won't unban the Hearthstone guy.
Well, because remember,
he said they fucked up, but they won't unban the guy.
Well, because China's too important to Activision Blizzard.
Right.
And the Tencent, that company, owns like 6% of Activision Blizzard.
Mm-hmm. For the first time, a non-dude won a major esports thing.
Which is real exciting.
The Grandmaster of Hearthstone does not have a penis, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about that.
Yeah, that's good.
But Overwatch 2 is the news that's really interesting.
Well, Diablo 4, they're making a Diablo to make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And, Hearthstone is getting like a MOBA, like some kind of
auto chess?
MOBA auto chess mode, but it's Hearthstone. I don't know what the fuck's up with that. I'm done with that.
Yeah, I've not played an auto chess in a while.
Right,
that shit.
But Rim wants to talk about his Overwatch 2 the most.
Well, because what Overwatch 2 is actually really interesting because no one's quite sure what it is.
Well, because Overwatch is a game where there are loot boxes you can buy, but mostly you
purely cosmetic, don't do anything.
Right, mostly you just pay for it once and that's it. So in order to make more money from people who don't buy loot boxes, they have to make the World of Warcraft model where there's expansions that they charge money for, or entirely new games that they charge money for.
No, because another way to make money off of it is it's the esport.
How do you make money off the esport?
With the advertising and the sponsorships.
Right. But I'm saying to make money from the players, unless they're buying loot
I'm saying maybe you don't care. Maybe the players, other than that initial payment they have to make to play the game, that's just to make sure there is a community. It's almost like making sure the minor leagues exist so you can have the major league.
Sure. But
there's a strategy there.
But the point is, they want to make money from the consumers. They had to make another Overwatch or Overwatch expansion and charge money for it, so they're making Overwatch 2.
Well, yeah, because there's a little more going on there.
And they'll charge money for Overwatch 2.
Overwatch in general.
Can you buy Overwatch 2 without buying Overwatch 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Overwatch in general has the problem it has is the problem that all truly skill-based competitive games that are serious have.
Even regardless of skill cap.
Yep, most people suck at these games and get really mad when they continue to suck at them, and the player base falls off, and you end up having like all the problems that all competitive games have had for all time.
Well, also competitive or not, all games for all time have they start off big and players fall off over time. Sometimes
except Counter-Strike, which somehow just continued to grow for a long time.
Counter-Strike strategy was this is why I'm bringing this up.
Yep.
They kept releasing more Counter-Strikes. And here you go. Overwatch is now released. This is basically CS source, only Overwatch source.
But here's something else. Overwatch, many of the people, this is now my opinion as opposed to like anything an analyst has done detailed analysis on. A lot of the people who like to play Overwatch or were into Overwatch when it first came out were into it for a lot of reasons other than being super serious competitive.
Of course.
They like
that's
the
why
characters.
that's why there's arcade modes. That's why Counter-Strike has like
these
other modes
They
too.
don't even like the arcade modes because they're still competitive. These are people
just like casual modes.
Most of the arcade modes are still competitive.
Uh-huh.
Like, as in, you're competing with other players, even if it's not ranked.
Okay.
People don't even like that. A lot of the people seriously care about the character lore and the story and all this shit that is literally just there for the game to exist. But those people are now not playing Overwatch anymore because that's what they cared about. And it seems like the thing that started to get those people to come back to Overwatch was adding these entirely non-competitive, purely cooperative PvE modes.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
people love those things.
Yeah, and they want like cutscenes and leveling up characters and all that shit that I literally like the things that I hate.
It's a completely different game. It just happens to be on the same engine, the same platform, the same piece of software. You just put modes that are effectively completely different. They just use the same models or environments or whatever.
But what's fascinating about this is that
appeal to different. That way, you can have a game that services everybody.
Well,
World of Warcraft had PvP, PvE.
Yep.
Do all kinds of stuff. That's neither
ERP.
Yeah, you can do on raids. You can, you make lots and lots of different ways for people to play. You have this one piece of software you run on one platform.
Yep.
And you just make it so that it has so many different nets to catch so many different kinds of people, because it's a lot cheaper than making a different game for every different kind of person.
Yep, so this gets back to, remember way back we talked about how Fortnite had to make the game less competitive in order to keep the majority of their players.
Yep.
And they completely gave up on the professional scene entirely.
Right, they had the rule in Fortnite where killing people would get you loot, so people would actually try to kill each other.
Yep.
And then people didn't like that, so they got rid of it.
So what Overwatch is basically doing now is Overwatch 2, it seems like all the things that are actually competitive in Overwatch 2 will also make it back into Overwatch 1, like the new modes and everything. And all Overwatch 2 seems to be is a player versus environment mode that can be single player or co-op, where you fucking level your character up like an action RPG or a loot shooter and do like co-op missions to unlock story.
Yeah. But I mean, that's not going to have anything to do with like Overwatch League.
Nope. Well, that's my only fear is that
you can't even have a league based around that game.
My only fear is if PvE type mechanics, not the leveling up or anything, but like having mobs of like neutral things to fight and all that shit that I hate about MOBAs, that seems to be really popular with a certain type of gamer.
There have been a lot of attempts to make an FPS that's also a MOBA, basically. Yep. And they've have had varying success, but none of them have achieved the hugeness, in popularity of any FPS like Counter-Strike,
yep.
any MOBA like Dota or LoL, or, any Fortnite or any, they've all been like, middle-ish games, all the ones that trying to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know if that game genre is of doing that, because you think like, actually making a MOBA as an FPS game instead of an RTS, but having the same map, the same idea of trying to capture the base, the same hiding in the woods.
Yep.
As long as you'd have to, because it's an FPS, you would have to add more about the shooting skills, and you would have to take out some of those item crazy biz. At least you probably should. You don't have to. You look at like
God, people love that item bullshit though.
Yeah, well, PUBG has it, right?
Yeah.
Right, but you couldn't make it any more complicated than PUBG has.
Yeah.
Right? That could be a good game that I might even want to play, maybe, but no one's made one that's really taken off and killed. So I don't know if the idea itself is not popular or if no one's just made a good one yet.
Yep. So based on all this,
they could make a good Overwatch one if they,
they could,
or no one can.
And I feel
if
like
they can't make one, no one can.
This will be a test to see how far they can push that side of Overwatch while still having a competitive game. So as best I can tell, the kinds of people I don't play games with will all buy Overwatch 2. And I will not, because everything that's being added to Overwatch 2 that I care about will also be in Overwatch 1. Overwatch 1 will basically be action, Quake, weapons factory, serious, competitive, asymmetric FPS game.
They're not going to add new characters and stuff in Overwatch. So you open up Overwatch 2.
Overwatch 2, new characters and modes will also go back into Overwatch 1.
So there will so Overwatch 2 is literally not a different game. It's literally just modes.
It seems like it's
just the PvE modes.
It seems like it's better graphics. Well, it's slightly different art, effectively. I don't know if it's actually better graphics.
So if you stick with Overwatch 1...
Seems like
Can you play again? So let's say I open up Overwatch 2.
Yes, same pool of if you play a competitive mode, same game.
But the game will just look worse.
As far as I can tell.
And you'll still have everything else.
Yep. It seems like Overwatch 2 is just get the people who care about
so the only thing you're
fucking
buying,
McCree. They want to know who is McCree fucking. Is it Reaper? Is it May? No one knows.
The only thing you're buying when you buy Overwatch 2
is finding out who's fucking who and playing
game modes.
Well,
and graphics improvements.
Game modes that include all the stuff I hate about games like Borderlands, coupled with all the lore and backstory stuff that I also don't care about.
Okay, and you could watch on YouTube.
Yes, which I probably will. So,
but I thought you didn't care about it.
Well, I mean, I'll watch it because those things are interesting, but I'm not willing to play a game to find that stuff out. The thing I hate more than anything in a game is to click on things to get walls of text and backstory and lore. Like, that is the least interesting
Well, there
part
probably
of
won't be
game.
a wall of text. There'll probably be, like, cinematic stuff.
Yep. But it seems like one of the specific complaints the people who stopped playing Overwatch 1 had is that the story was only from the cinematics. They want the story to be in the game Half-Life style, which is weird.
Well, Half-Life is way, but cinematics are garbage.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to make cinematics, why are you in making video games? Go make movies. Right? I've always said that.
Yep. So
It's
I think
Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 1 were like a revelation. And like, hey, you're telling a story with your fucking video game. You're not like cutting away and showing a movie.
Well,
This
except
isn't-
Half-Life 2 at many points locks you in a room with people talking at you for 5 minutes.
Yes, but you can walk around and mess with stuff.
Yeah,
It is
in a really
I mean,
minimal way.
It is a little bit hackneyed, but they still...
Well, that game is also ancient.
Yes, but I mean, the thing is, at the time of Half-Life 1, there was no, even though they lock you in a room also, no other game did it that way.
Yep.
Right? It was no game, and so Half-Life 2 was just doing what Half-Life 1 did.
So
only better.
TLDL version of this, Overwatch 2 is probably a really smart move for Blizzard, and it is not a game that I am in any way interested in playing. But I think it'll do well, and I think it'll make more money.
Well, I mean, remember, how many Counter-Strike mods were something along those lines,
Yep.
right? Or,
Well, all the people who would play that WoW mod of Counter-Strike, that was literally just garbage.
Yep.
But it was garbage you could level up over time persistently, and it was a Skinner box of leveling shit up in loot boxes.
We have talked since the beginning of time
Yep.
about how people would rather improve a digital character with a Skinner box that makes them feel like they're improving rather than actually improve their own human body.
But anyway, it's time for Things of the Day. So I'm actually a pretty big fan of horror fiction in general, and I actually do really like creepypastas
Okay.
and that kind of stuff. But this is pretty cool. This is Pac-Man.
I like Pac-Man.
It's a ROM you can play. It's a real game.
Okay.
But the game,
Doesn't look like a legit Pac-Man to me.
well, because it's basically, if Pac-Man were a creepypasta, it's like a horror version of Pac-Man.
Pac-Man's already a horror. This ghost chasing you.
These are
Ghosts.
These are way scarier ghosts, Jerry.
What's scarier than fucking Clyde coming up like, what's up? Here I come.
I think you need
And
to watch
You
this to
already used
see.
all 4 power pills.
So instead
Yeah, I'm
of
going to block you from getting that pretzel.
instead of making a creepypasta that's just a wall of text of someone found a cursed cartridge of Super Mario World where Luigi's dead and you have to figure out the mystery and then you died in real life, it is just a ROM that is a game you can play, and that game you can play is a legit good Pac-Man game that is also a scary horror game.
So instead of making a creepypasta story, they actually made the game from the creepypasta
Environmental storytelling. The game itself is the scary story, and it's also a game you can play, and it's a cool mechanic where Pac-Man can only see what Pac-Man can fucking see.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks fun. Like it looks like it's worth playing.
All right. It's just map memorization, I think.
Well, also you got to figure out because all the ghosts are crazy different and scary and do different things.
Yeah, well, that's just going to kill you.
It looks way fun.
It doesn't look as fun as Pac-Man CEDX.
Yeah, but Pac-Man CEDX is way more fun than the sequel.
That sequel, I think, it just is a different way of thinking that doesn't match most human brains.
Yeah, that's why I'm not continuing to play it. Anyway, what do you got?
What was my thing of the day?
The
Oh, right.
35-year-old.
Yeah, so there was this Christian rock band. What's the name of the band? Skip around the video so I can remember.
Prodigal. Oh, Prodigal. I fucking know Prodigal.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay, sing a Prodigal song.
No, I've heard. I
Name
know,
a Prodigal song.
no, you know where I know Prodigal from?
Uh-huh.
In high school, there was this one really annoying dude who was really into Christian rock, and he brought up Prodigal all the time. And when we made this project for a class once in like French class, and he insisted on putting this specific Prodigal song into our project.
Anyway, so this Christian rock band Rim claims to know, named Prodigal, they put out a vinyl album way back in the 80s, right? Pretty sure it was 80s. And
1984.
they knew about computers, I guess, somehow, and they hired some dude at some computer place in Florida to write them a Commodore 64 program that would display like a quote from Albert Einstein and a quote from Jesus. It was a really simple, basic program, like really short, and it would just display these 2 quotes on the screen, and that was it. And if you don't know, right, back in those days, in the early 80s, right, especially in other countries, in the U.S., the Commodore 64 and other computers, we mostly went with floppy disks and cartridges, and we didn't need to use cassette tapes. Some computers did, but we sort of got past that, whereas other countries, especially like UK, had a lot more cassette tape software distribution going on, right, where you basically encode the bits, which is just as an analog signal, right? But the signal is
some like quadratic amplitude modulation.
Right, so if you played the cassette tape, it sounded like how your modem sounds, right? It's zeros and ones just in an analog signal. And if you look at the analog signal on your oscilloscope, it's like, oh, look, zeros and ones, right? There they are. And in fact, like my Apple IIgs, I have a trick I can do where you take pretty much anything that plays audio, for example, your phone, right? You take the headphone cable, you plug it in the back of the Apple II, right? You go online to like a website, and you can go on YouTube and you find like a video that has software in the audio, and just play the YouTube video real loud out your phone and into the Apple II, and lo and behold, you'll run the piece of software, right? It works. You could just distribute Apple II software on YouTube or SoundCloud or whatever right? So here what they did is on Prodigal's vinyl album, on a hidden track in like the inside, because in the middle of every vinyl album, there's like a runoff area where the needle goes to spin around forever after the record's done, so it doesn't go like into the middle of the, right? And most record players had a thing that auto-detected when the needle hit the runoff and would reset the needle back to the start. So you had to disable that in order to, if you had it on, not every record player had it, but if your turntable had that, you have to disable it so that the needle can go inside the runoff track, and there was a Commodore 64 program right there. So in this video, that is my thing of the day, this guy shows the whole process of getting that, program to run on a real Commodore 64. I guess this person honorably but also stupidly takes the audio from the vinyl to a cassette to the Commodore. I'm like, bro, why didn't you just make a digital recording and then play it from your computer into the Commodore? Why did you use the in-between of the cassette? That was obviously a pain in the ass. I get the authentic thing, but you could have saved a lot of hassle.
Yeah.
Just going from vinyl to wave, then from computer to Commodore.
That feels very much like the AVGN, like record my old school.
You can just take an audio cable from your computer's sound card into the input on the Commodore. You don't need to do the cassette tape thing. But it works. Pretty awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, in the Meta Moment, the GeekNights Book Club book will take a while. It's the Tale of Genji. We're going to do some checkpoint episodes along the way.
It's a big-ass book, so we're going to have some kind of strategy.
I'm into it, though. Genji's kind of a dick.
That's the point.
Like, Genji, he sucks, but I feel like he might get better.
Well...
Or maybe he won't. I'm not sure if he's going to get better or not.
You'll see all of Genji's life by that. And then some.
I mean, the Count of Monte Cristo went through a pretty good evolution, but I feel like a lot more is going to happen here based on the pace
You got a lot more pages.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to be live at PAX Unplugged in December, then at MagFest in January, right after New Year's, then at probably PAX South, and then right after that, PAX East, and then not too long after that, PAX West again. Life never ends.
Quite a while after that.
Few months.
Yeah, but
before you know it, it'll be PAX West.
All tickets are on sale for Unplugged South and East. East actually East went on sale I think a while ago.
Yep.
Maybe a couple weeks.
Saturday is sold out, but 4 days are not, which confirms something I've sort of suspected for a long time because I've double-checked. All the good hotels are completely sold out. So a 4-day badge is kind of worthless to most people because if you're not staying in a hotel next to the convention center, it really sucks to go to PAX.
It sucks to go for more than one day.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you live in, say... I don't know, Maine, right? You could wake up early, drive to Boston, pay for an expensive parking spot, right? Go to PAX all day, even on Friday or Sunday or Thursday or whatever, right? Even if it's not Saturday, get a full PAX day, get in your car, drive home to Maine late at night, right?
Good time. I've done stuff like that.
Even in upstate New York, you could take 84 across, right?
That's how I used to go to like UberCon and all those cons. I just drive in the morning.
Jersey, you can get to Boston, right? I guess, DC might be a little far. You could take 2 Acela trains.
Yep.
Meh.
Also, there's a ton of people that live nearby that just want to go for a day.
Right. But if you have nowhere to stay, any more than one day is right.
And even worse, there are still hotels, but they're the ones that are way over by the Hines. You got to use those shuttle buses.
If you stay in a faraway hotel and use a shuttle bus and have a 4-day, that's not a great PAX experience.
Also, it's interesting to watch how PAX East, other than like tabletop, fucking clears out at dinner time.
Yep.
For all the reasons we've talked about. PAX East is...
Well, it doesn't hurt that the area
sucks.
It's not like if it was, say, in the Hines, of course, the building is a problem, but the location, you could go out immediately across the street, eat on Newberry Street, and walk right back into PAX. Right? Same thing in Seattle. It's like, okay, Expo Hall closed, walk outside, eat dinner.
Yep.
Go back in. I'm still right near PAX. If you want to eat, it's like you got to go far away, wait in a long line. By the time you're done eating, you're already far away.
And because of the security, it takes forever to get back into PAX.
Right. I mean, late at night, there's not going to be.
Well, because late at night, everyone saw the security in the morning and they just bailed.
Yeah, but the security is just walk in late at night. But the point is, to go back to PAX versus go back to your hotel after you've eaten dinner and left the expo hall is a kind of a hassle. You can just go. You'd rather just go back to your hotel room and sleep at that point.
Yep. There's also the thing that most people who want to go to any kind of nerd convention now, like there's a set of people who want to go for the whole weekend and make it a weekend-long nerd experience, which like us, a lot like anime cons. Most people who go to anime cons do that.
Oh yeah.
Most like tabletop cons, like that's what people want to do. MagFest. Not many people go to MagFest for one day.
No. They should just actually sell only full badges for MagFest.
But PAXs and Comic Cons that have big expo halls, the number of people who want to go to these things just to see that expo hall is probably more than the number of people who want to actually go and see the whole con. And this continual pull between these two groups with very different desires from the conventions is continuing to be a problem, and there's no good solution.
Well, I mean, the solution is just have two different events.
Yeah.
Or let's say PAX Unplugged with the expo hall is like, all right, even if you go there for it, you're not going to be doing too much there because it's it's tabletop, right? Even if you're big on tabletop, that's your main thing. The expo hall won't occupy you for that much time. Even Gen Con won't. It's like you're going to spend your time playing games, right? But if you're there for video games, then you might not spend your time playing games at a real PAX.
Yep.
And that's why you just go to the expo hall and leave.
This is why PAX Unplugged, increasingly other than PAX West, because it's PAX West, continues to, I think it's my favorite PAX.
If only it wasn't in Philly.
I know,
it would
God.
be perfect.
If it was anywhere but Philly, I'd be a lot happier.
Anyway,
let's get right into it. Untitled Goose Game.
So speaking of PAX, at PAX 2018, right, we're in this PAX, and suddenly everyone's going wild about this fucking Goose Game. We're like, what the hell is this? And we find out there's a game, and they got a big-ass booth. The booth is there again this year in 2019, and made by these developers that were sort of newish on the scene. House, right? Is House? House,
yeah.
And the game was called Untitled Goose Game. The game doesn't have a title, right? It's just you call it the Untitled Goose Game because that's the way you refer to the game that has no title, but it is a game with no title that is a goose game. And it's a game where you are a goose. It's 3D, walk around, real-time video game.
No. You are specifically a horrible goose.
Yes, you're this horrible goose. And you go around like honking, flapping your wings, and making people miserable, stealing shit, and all. And so that concept alone, it's all I saw. All I saw of it was that, and I was like, "That's a genius idea for a game. There's no game like it. I'm gonna buy that and play it. That's gonna be a thing."
Yep.
I could tell already. It as soon as they showed it at PAX, it was a thing, and I'm like, "That's gonna be a thing." And just like a week ago, maybe it came out.
Yep.
Maybe
but
2
no,
weeks
it's been
ago.
out for a while.
Has it? How long's it been out?
A while. You just didn't play it.
No. When did it actually? It came out recently.
I mean, beat it a while ago. I even tweeted about it.
It wasn't as long ago as you think. This game came out super recently.
It came out in September.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Scott, come on.
Well, I beat it.
In fact, every Tuesday show, I was like, did you play the Goose Game yet so we can do a show on it? You kept saying no.
Well,
I didn't have the record in Discord.
Well, I was beating, I beat
Link's
Awakening again.
Which we'll probably talk about.
Which you had never played to begin with.
Yeah. I'm almost done. I'm playing it. I got a whole bunch of instruments. I just got the mirror shield. And
then you're almost done if you have mirror shield.
I've never played it before, but I don't fucking trust that owl at all. That owl is bad fucking news.
Anyway, it's the same owl from the Zelda game.
Yeah, but I don't trust this owl.
Anyway. So, yeah. So then I played this, and like people said, Goose Game is hella short. It is.
But it's the right length. Like
right length for an adult who's got better shit to do.
But it's also the right length as in it has the game is brilliant. But the reason I say it's brilliant is that the thing that I'm most focused on in game design is always this concept of elegance and fun economy. In the sense that a 4-hour game that's fun for 4 hours is not as good as a 1-hour game that's really fun for that 1 hour.
Yeah, I think that's what the thing is like on the one hand, if you were expecting more
70 hours of Goose,
right? Or if you're expecting more Goose and you're set because it is super short. It's like 4 areas maybe.
Well, it's basically there's the game, which the other concept we kind of get into in games design a lot is the idea of if you have a simple set of mechanics, do you fully explore those mechanics. So the Goose game is a very simple set of mechanics, and in the first half of the game, like the real game until you quote-unquote beat it and get the ending, which I won't spoil because I laughed so hard I almost choked. The ending was so perfect.
Wasn't that funny?
I thought it was really funny.
Okay.
But the very simple mechanics it has are fully explored, and then you beat it, and then if that wasn't enough, like Legend of Zelda 1, there's a second quest that's just more if you really want to challenge yourself.
You can do the same thing again, slightly harder, slightly different.
A few of the parts of the second quest are way harder.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, you walk around, you can flap.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can walk, you can run.
You can walk, run, you can crouch your head down low to the ground.
Yep.
You can
Grab
flap your
stuff,
wing. You
flap
can
your wings.
Flap your wings, and you can honk.
And you can grab stuff.
It's not just grab, it's you can interact with anything that has like these action lines. So most of the time, you put your head near something and it has action lines to grab it, but there's other things you can interact with, like, ring a bell, push a button, knock something over, trim a hedge. Basically you push A to interact with an interactable item.
Yep,
right?
and there's a lot of items to interact with. Most of them are not strictly necessary. Like, if you want to speedrun this game, you can skip most of the things you could do.
You're going to see speedruns of this game at, like, a GDQ event, and it's probably going to take minutes, like single-digit minutes.
I've watched some speedruns of this already, and the funniest part was one dude was doing this pretty fast speedrun, and literally in the middle of the run, he's like, oh, wait, I think I can route this way better. And he's like, fuck it, I'm starting over. I think I can set the world record right now. Because the world record is evolving rapidly.
Yes. But, the fun of the game is that, you walk around and you interact with all the things the Goose can interact with.
And it's funny because it's subtle and understated, and it trusts the player to get the joke. Because literally the game, after you get into the first area, you see this farmer, and then suddenly this little notebook appears with your agenda for the day. And some of them are very straightforward, like steal the farmer's keys.
So you sneak up behind the farmer, grab his keys, and run, and that's it.
Some of them are more vague, like well, not vague really, but more funny. Like one is just rake in the lake.
Yep. That's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Right?
But it's
some of them
funny.
are not straightforward, and you have to figure out which items to interact with in which order with which timing in order to make the thing happen.
But along the way, like the list itself is a joke. And then when you play the game, like as you figure, like some of the puzzles, when you figure out how to solve them, the way they are solved is itself funny. The game is just really, really good, subtle, clever comedy as an interactive entertainment software that lets you explore the comedy on your own terms and your own time.
Right. I think what it really is, this game, it's basically a point-and-click adventure game in disguise, plus a real-time element.
Yep.
Right? So
they're with the quest for glory piece, meaning for any given task, there are a lot of different ways to accomplish it.
Usually not too much. Some subtly, yes, kinda.
Nah, some of them, there are like 8 or 9 different ways to solve it. Some of them, there's only like 1 or 2. But many of the things you have to do,
I think it's like the basic structure of how to accomplish any given thing is basically always the same. It's just the details of your specific execution can vary,
well,
right? So like rake in the lake, it's like, okay, you have to grab the rake and run to the lake. But maybe, I might do it in a way where I sneak around with the rake and don't get spotted.
Or maybe I'm just like, fuck it, honk, scream, scream, go.
Right, or maybe I just brute force it and run, right, so fast that I'm not caught, right? And maybe I have to drop the rake a few times and then I go back for it.
Yep.
Maybe I grab the rake, I get caught, so then I grab something else. The farmer prioritizes that something else more than the rake, so I distract the farmer with the something else. Then go back for the rake while he's dealing with like his spade or something, right? And it's like, yeah, the fundamental way to get the rake in the lake is you grab it and you have to carry it to the lake. There's no other way to do it.
Well, like another one of them.
But the details of how you succeed at dragging it all the way to the lake might vary.
Like, there's one where it basically tells you, get this lady trapped in her garage.
Yep.
So there's a lot of ways to get her into that garage and trap her. Like, a lot of different ways.
Well, it's like you have to open the garage, and then you have to wait for her to be in the garage, and once she's in the garage, you have to pull the rope.
Yep, but
right?
how do you get her into the garage? Well,
right, well, there's pretty much any way to get... There's so many different ways to get her attention in the garage.
So here's the other cleverness. The mechanic of the game, like the way the humans work is really clever in that the humans have different humans have different levels of aggression, meaning if you, the goose, enter certain human space, they just kind of look at you.
Yeah, like the kid,
you.
He doesn't really care too much about you, and
Unless you attack him.
He's kind of scared of you.
Yep.
Right.
Or like the farmer just kind of looks at you unless you fuck with him.
Yep.
But like the guy at the pub actively assaults you if you get near.
Oh yeah,
him.
the bouncer at the pub is the strongest dude. It's like he doesn't let you in the pub.
Yep.
Right. It's sort of it's slightly annoying in one sense because it's like, yeah, humans can make you drop what you're holding. They can take things from you. They can push you around. There's nothing you can do about it. And I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, geese can fucking fly, right? I should be able to just fly. Two,
geese have a hard time taking off unless they're in water.
that's good. That's news to me. Anyway, the point is, two, geese can shit, right?
Oh, that should have been another option. You got to unlock shitting.
Yeah, you could shit on people. And
But
they'll
that
go,
would have taken away from the benign charm of the game.
I'm not saying the game should have done these things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in the fiction, I was constantly annoyed by humans, not constantly, but slightly annoyed at humans being able to push me around. I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. I should just bite that fucker. And it's like if a goose, even if you're a bouncer at a club, if a goose comes up and is all biting and flapping at you, you're not pushing it around. You're being like,
the
oh
caveat
shit.
is, if you're willing to harm the goose, it's trivial to stop a goose. But most people who are attacked by geese don't want to hurt the goose. They just want the goose to stop biting them.
Right. I mean, it's like no human would behave the way these humans do, and the goose.
I was worried playing
and a
the game
real
that
goose could, if it desired, be much more vicious than this goose is. This goose is for being such a jerky goose that fucks with people. It's such a nice goose. It doesn't fucking bite people and poke them and flap them and fly in and poop on them. And it's like, it's like, oh, rake in the lake. It's like, Jesus Christ, the farmer shouldn't be able to stop the goose unless it's an evil farmer who's willing to just shoot the goose.
But
it's
the other
why is the
nice
goose
thing,
dropping that rake? It just whack the farmer with it.
The other cool thing about the way the humans work is that they all have things they do, and over their heads it'll always float an icon of the thing they wish to interact with.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of go about their thing. You can watch them and sort of time things to solve puzzles, but they also, if they see the goose with anything, they'll be like, goose shouldn't have that thing. They'll come take it from you.
Yep.
They also, if you take something that they then later want to interact with, they'll start roaming around the map looking for it.
Right, and they seem to have a priority of things that are most important to
Like that
each
old
human.
man, if I take his stool, he will get that stool back before he'll go after other stuff I stole.
Right, it's like each human cares more about certain items than others. So it's like you might steal an item that they don't care about too much, and they won't go looking for it for a long time. But if you steal 10 things, you can readily predict the order in which they'll get the 10 things back.
You can also soft lock, like when Natalie was playing at our house.
I didn't have that happen.
She permanently trapped the farmer in a spot where he could never leave and never correct himself.
No, I didn't even.
So she walked up to him later, took his keys, and just walked back and forth past him because he could not get out of the thing she'd trapped him in.
That's
he was permanently there.
Interesting.
And at the end of the game, when you go all the way back through the world,
he was still in there.
He was still trapped.
Yeah.
But another part of the humor is that some of the things you interact with are basically just little set pieces that are really funny along the way. Like there's one moment where you get into someone's house, but the camera doesn't actually show you what's happening in the house. You just see some wing flaps through the windows, and you hear a bunch of noises and crashes, and eventually you get shoved out the front door on the other side, and it's really funny, and it's almost just an interstitial before you get to the next part of the game.
Right. Well, I think that's really, it's that's, the game's greatness is all this polish that has gone into the, the environment and, the things and and all that. And I think if this game didn't have the theme of being a goose, right? If this was literally any other thing, just a dude walking around, this would be a garbage game.
Yep.
It would be completely worthless, right?
If the game were harder,
it would literally just be if you say Monkey Island, only real time. But imagine if you took away all the funny Monkey Island biz. It's just literally figure out which things to interact with in which order with which timing. It's just an answer.
But also,
and sometimes it would be actually kind of frustrating. Also,
if the quests were harder, it wouldn't have been as fun.
Yeah, harder would have been even more. There's already a slight amount of frustration,
but it's the right amount. A few of them are pretty hard.
It is the amount of frustration isn't the problem, but it's occasionally the kind of frustration is that sort of escape room point and click adventure game stuff.
Oh, I never ran into that. My question was never, how do I accomplish this? My question was always, like, how do I get around this obstacle in my way of accomplishing the thing that I know I want to do? Like, I got to trick this guy out of the way or something. The only one I had trouble with was, for some reason, I had trouble getting the guy to fall on his ass. Like, I couldn't time it right.
For example, there was one where I get a candle. I looked all the fuck over. I didn't see any fucking candles.
What? It's just right there.
No, I didn't go over in that where it was. Right?
I went everywhere because I just wanted to poke at the world.
Yeah, I did. It took me forever to find that fucking candle. Just, right? And it's like, it wasn't hard. It was just I didn't see it over there, right? And
I think one of my favorite
and there was
bits
another thing that looked candle-ish, right? Yeah.
I think my favorite area is still the two gardens.
Yeah, it's
the lady on the one side, the guy on the other side.
That's the area that has the most going on and that tells the most story and tells the human story of the two neighbors.
Yep.
Right? So that's what makes it better.
Just the little bits like you see the lady like spying on the dude when he's not looking and all the stuff going on between the two of them is really good.
And then they fight,
Yep.
And then whatever.
So
yeah, it's I think it's like on the one hand, it's like the game on its own, just the game part of it on its own, with known to the Goose part and the theme part, right, is basically a game that I probably would have even like hated. Like, this is garbage, right?
But it shows how important polish, style, theme, humor,
It's
writing.
literally just a point-and-click adventure or escape room with some real-time elements, and the real-time elements were even frustrating because it'd be like, only frustrating because of the waiting. Like, all right, I want to do this thing. I need this human to be in this position. Well, I got to fucking wait. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Hurry your ass up, human.
See, I would never wait. I just solved the problem a different way.
There was no other way. It's like, you want to do a thing. It's like, well, I need this human to not be in that area. I need to wait for them to go to the other area.
Well, then
so
I would get something they wanted and trick them to go out of the way.
It's not,
Wasn't that hard?
Or I need a human to be like, it's like, I have to scare the human when they're doing a specific task. All right, stand and wait for them to be doing that specific task.
You
then
can
honk.
Get him to do it pretty quick, though, by like taking the other thing they want to play with, steal that kid's plane, and then he'll go try to do the other thing instead.
Yeah, but it's like you're down to the one thing you need to do is I can't,
But the game is just short enough, charming enough, interesting enough.
Yeah, if it was any longer, the frustrations would have built despite the funny goose, right? If it was any harder, the frustrations would have built despite the funny goose, right? But because it was so short and so polished in the environment and so funny and the way the music plays when you're running.
The music is so good.
And, because they polished that.
Because the music's dynamic. Like, it
right,
changes
exactly.
based on what you're doing.
Because the theme and the art and the style and the humor and because all those things were so strong and so short, right? You didn't need a strong game to carry that weight. You just needed enough game to carry that weight, right? And so there it was.
Well,
right?
like too
and
subtle.
Then before I was ready, it's like if they had added like 2 more levels, I might have actually been here saying this game's garbage. Don't play no Goose game.
What's fun too is that the animation of the goose in particular. If you watch people play this game, the goose ends up acting a lot like a real goose. Like, it's interesting
that
how
can't
much
fly or shit.
Well,
or bite.
I mean, it's a relatively nice goose, but part of that is because the way there's like a priority animation system you can see where the goose is always kind of looking at the most interesting thing near it at any given time. And when a person walks over, the goose just kind of looks up at it. So the goose's natural idle animations and interacting animations coupled with your interactions sort of trick the player into like cosplaying as a goose while you're playing and doing goose-like things that are not strictly necessary to win the game or solve a puzzle.
Yep, that's the thing. Is like if you're not just trying to win the game, the environment is so interactive, way beyond what a point and click adventure game can do. Right?
Like when I broke that lady's broom, I like ran away with it and hit it like so far.
Oh yeah,
just to fuck her. Fuck
yeah.
that lady.
Oh yeah.
I was so mad at her in that shop when I busted that broom. I hit it like in the top corner over by the walkie-talkie by that other house, like under that table.
Yeah, there was one where I had to collect like a whole bunch of things in like a bucket or something. What the hell was that one?
Oh yeah.
I forget what that was. Is I had to collect a bunch of items and they all had to be in the same like container.
So I was like hiding in the corner.
It was go shopping. There was a grocery list.
Yep.
But I picked up the basket for the grocery list and I carried it all the way the fuck over by the car, super far away.
I did the same thing. I went the opposite direction. I went to the east.
Okay, and then I went all the way to the car.
And then at one point the lady started walking that way and I was like, oh no, she's gonna find it.
I basically took as many items that weren't on the grocery list as I could and put them over in the east. And then I stole items for the grocery thing one at a time and ran them all the way, right? Because if I leave the grocery thing too close, she's just going to go for it and put it all back.
Also, a subtle game design point to avoid frustration. This is pretty clever. The game gives you the list of things to do, and you have to get all of them done to get to the next area, except once you get all but one of them done, it adds like a bonus one. Like it adds one more. So if
I did all of them.
Yeah, I did all of them too. But if you're getting frustrated or having trouble, getting that bonus one also means the thing that's preventing you from getting to the next area opens up, so you could move on without finishing every item.
Yes, you could skip one item
in every area. You got to go back and do them eventually, but that is good, subtle game design, because if you're frustrated, like you just can't solve one particular puzzle, like you can't figure out how to get the farmer to put on his sun hat, you could just let it be, go interact with a totally different area, and sleep on it and come back later.
Yeah,
that's good design.
It's also, the humans are stuck in these certain patterns, but like after you accomplish certain tasks, occasionally completing those tasks will cause some of the human patterns to change.
Yep.
And that allows you to accomplish a different task, right?
Yep.
It's like that bouncer guy we talked about. It's like you got to drop a bucket on his head. And it's like, well, at the start, when you get in that area,
he won't move.
He only hangs in the front. He doesn't go anywhere else. He doesn't go near any buckets. So how do you get a bucket on his head? It's like eventually you complete other tasks, and then he'll start walking around, and then there's a way you can get him to go near a bucket and drop it on his head.
Yep. So if you have not played the Goose Game, it's 100% worth playing.
Yeah, it's not
such a delightful
It's
little
not
game.
too expensive. It doesn't take too long. You buy the Goose Game, you play it once, and then you're done with it.
Maybe if you're really into it, you can futz around with the second quest.
I think you could come back to it later for a second quest, right? I don't know. Like,
if I'm like bored on a plane, I might just do like one of the second quest items.
Right, maybe. I think if you're the kind of person who doesn't get frustrated at a point-and-click adventure game, and also can handle the real-time elements, right? Some people aren't so great with the gamepad, right? If you have gamepad skills, at least moderate ones, and you don't hate point-and-click adventures, you could probably play Goose Game like through several times and get like there's a super bonus. I think you get if you beat it enough, right?
I've even enjoyed just watching other people play it, even though I've already played
watching people play it is fine too, right? But
because everyone I've sat down in front of it has already solved some puzzles in very different ways from how I solved them.
Right, but even if you're someone like me who would hate it if not but for the humor and style, it's still worth buying and playing through one time.
Yep.
Right? Just do all the missions once. You completed the game. You don't need to complete it a second time. Just there you go. You saw the great Goose Game, and you've learned valuable lessons for other games, which is you should, polish is what matters.
Yep, and also your games don't all have to be 70-hour monsters. A game can be short,
right?
Good experience that ends.
Right, it's like a lot of people who complain the Goose Game is short. It's like, well, those are little kids with tons of free time who can play Fortnite 10 hours a day.
Yep.
And people who complain that RPGs are too long are old people who are like, yay, Goose Game, I was able to beat a game.
Meanwhile,
despite being an adult with a job.
I'm feeling this weird, powerful urge to play Death Stranding.
The Kojima
Apparently
game?
it's 70 hours of main gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get past the first room in Metal Gear Solid, so why would I play that?
I know, but I for something...
Why would I pay money for that?
I don't know. It seems like it's a literal walking simulator, and it's calling to me.
Oh, it doesn't have any like shooting or anything?
It's mostly...
I thought it was just a Metal Gear Solid style game.
You don't know anything about this game, do you?
I thought it was just Kojima made a Metal Gear Solid game,
No.
but it wasn't Metal Gear. It was something else.
Kojima made a Kojima game, but the core mechanic is you're just delivering packages by walking. It's like a package delivery walking game.
So there's no skills required.
It's a walking game.
So why not just fucking watch it on YouTube?
Because I want to walk. I want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Maybe you should make a movie instead.
I feel like a movie wouldn't work. I think it's got to be. You got to have that long experience. You got to walk for 10 hours, desert bus style.
No.
Anyway, I think we're done with the Goose Game.
Yeah.
All right.